Hold on. All right.
Why are we called Negroes? Why are we deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody making progress, yet we seem to be lagging so far behind? Why are we mistreated? Why are we in this condition? Stripped of our name, our language, our culture, our God, and our religion. Here in America, all of our religious training has been gotten by the preacher. He has told us of a heaven way up in the sky that we can't enjoy now, but rather after we die. But all of the years that we're living.
You gonna try?
I think so.
Sister Michelle, you're on mute.
Oh, everybody on mute. Oh, there you go.
You're just there like.
Listen, it's Thursday night shenanigans. Sister Kalila is not here tonight, so you can't leave me on the controls.
No, you good, sis.
Okay, let's get this thing started. I think Brother Lau is trying to get in. Let's see.
Let's bring him on.
Can you bring him on?
I'll bring him on.
All right, there you go. Anyway, as we are bringing on Brother Lau, there he goes.
Yeah, we made on.
There he goes. Listen, welcome in. It's Thursday Night Talks. We are missing one of our arms tonight, but I'm going to do my very, very best to fill in. I am your sister, Michelle. I am your moderators for this evening. And I just want to welcome everybody. And it's been a long week. I don't know about you, but for me, yes, it has been. Either way, I thank everyone. And of course, we always tell you this at the start of the show. You must do what?
Go get your peoples.
There you go. Go get your peoples. That's number one. Number two is you need to like and share.
Right now. Don't wait.
Like right now.
Grab somebody.
Go grab somebody. Because listen, we've got a good show this evening. So it's a very fruitful topic. I think it's always something that we need to always keep in mind, especially those that, like myself, have children of color. And if you don't know what we're talking about, if you take a little peruse on our little Facebook page, you'll definitely see what I'm talking about. And we are live on YouTube as well. So if you don't want to be on Facebook, you can join us on YouTube and grab, again, your friends and family to watch this very important show and topic this evening. So I don't want to belabor the message, but I'm going to say it just one last time. Like and share and go get your peoples.
And who's that saying that one more last time? Who was that just speaking? But
Sister Michelle, the moderator.
hostess with the most. Y'all know we got to give Sister Michelle that love now, family.
Oh,
Come on now. With the mostest now.
Praise be to God. All right, Brother Lau. I'm going to hand over the baton to you. And
Right.
I think that way. There you go.
Look, I'm all turned around. Here we go.
Wait.
All right. I'm running now. I got it. And we're not running from the fight. We're running to the fight, dear family.
Always.
Running. But you know how we like to say, dear family, Assalamu alaikum to my Muslim brothers and sisters. Praise the Lord to my Christian brothers and sisters. Umgawa Black Power to my Black revolutionaries, and to all you peace and freedom loving people across the land. Peace and blessings. Welcome to another edition of Thursday Night Talks. And yes, you are going to get your peoples tonight. Something that you're going to be enlightened with, and you might as well have conversation that is enlightened. I'm not going to spoil the session what the topic is, but you should be strolling down that page like Sister Michelle told you to do while you're going to get your people, while you're liking and while you're sharing. And just for the record, for those who are tuning in for the first time, you wonder, what is the 7th Region Coalition? Well, think about a very, very special time when the world is dark and people are coming across some dangerous waters. But there's a lighthouse to motivate, inspire, teach, train, and guide to safety. So look at us like a lighthouse. There's going to be plenty of light on in your house tonight as we get into this topic, dear family. And so I just want to remind you again, go get your peoples, family. All of you who've been having interesting conversation about community and police relations, this is the show where you really want to go get your peoples. Bebe, Ray, and all of them. And so look forward to a powerful time tonight. And I'm going to come right on up top here and give that baton to Brother Tony.
Go ahead, Brother Tony. Grab that baton. Grab it.
All right, let's go, family. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the one God to whom holy praises all forever due, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, I am forever thankful to Almighty God for his intervention in our affairs and raising from among us the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I thank them both for that wonderful counselor in our midst today, the one who's guiding the multitudes of our people, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. Welcome to Thursday Night Talks, headed by the 7th Region Coalition to help save lives. This is a group, an organization, a foundation, if you will, to set the course, the trajectory in the condition of our people off to another path. As Brother Lyle referred to the treacherous waters, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad referred to the treacherous waters as a condition of the people. But the people needed guidance, so there was a mighty one who walked on those treacherous waters. And he didn't have a special brand of Nike shoes. We're seeking to follow in the same footsteps of guidance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the leadership that we need to help guide our people. And tonight we are seeing some wonderful examples in the communities that are seeking to walk in that path of guiding our people the right way. They may not be of all the same faith, but we are of the same brotherhood, of the same faith, really, when we're walking that same path. It doesn't matter what religion we claim, we are of the same faith because we're seeking to change the condition of our people. And so tonight's broadcast, which I'm always very thankful for our regional leadership, Student Minister Patrick Muhammad, who assembled this force, this group, to form a coalition in our communities here in the 7th region of the Nation of Islam, to guide our people to safety, first and foremost through the miseducation when it came down to a experimental inoculation. But today we are guiding our people to truth into guidance that will help save lives. And so tonight's program, we will be focusing on the ministry of justice. And so if we could pull up that ministry up.
Yes, just give me one little second here.
One of the 9 ministries given to us by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the midst of the Millions More movement back in 2005. And we as a Nation of Islam, we seek to implement these in our communities. Whether we're members of the Nation of Islam or not, we're seeking to unite our people through these ministries. And so,
give me 1 second.
You almost got it, Sister Michelle. There we go.
There you go.
The ministry of justice. And so the ministry of justice is the following. It is focused on protecting the rights and privileges of the members of the society and provides for penalties to be imposed upon persons who violate or threaten to violate the law or dispute the peace. No member of the community shall forfeit his or her rights and privileges of membership in the community without just cause and without due process in reaching a determination that such cause exists. The ministry is charged with the development of an independent judicial system in order to carry out its charge. It also initiates legal action, including class actions against external entities, including governments, corporations, institutions, and or individuals who through their actions pose a threat to the essential rights of members of this group. And so tonight, in a very timely this is a very timely program in the midst of national controversy, which keeps happening and keeps happening and keeps happening. We continue to experience injustice in the form of police brutality, police killings. And so tonight we're going to be speaking to a group here locally in Miami who's doing something about it in cooperation with the police department locally, which it has led to transformation. It has led to a change. And so they're going to be giving a testimony tonight as to how they are bringing about that change. With that, I turn it back over to Sister Michelle.
Okay, well, wonderful. Before I get started on the bio, our very own Brother Lau is a part of this. So when I speak about this wonderful organization, just keep Brother Lau in mind, okay? So let's talk about our guest that we have on this evening. The organization name is Circle of Brotherhood. And the organization is primarily Black men from all walks of life dedicated to community service, economic development, crime prevention, conflict resolution and mediation, educational services, and youth mentorship. Members of the circle have dedicated their lives to collectively solving the social ills of our communities. The Circle of Brotherhood, and there's a little acronym COB, it's comprised of founding members and the executive team, the governing officers, and a general membership body. The founding members formulated the organization in 2013 based upon a call to action for unity and collaboration to address the manifold issues related to increased violence in the Miami 5th District. Their service and influence now spans throughout South Florida.
Almost on our way there next.
We're on our way there.
That could be the next destination. The organization is primarily, again, it's of Black men of all walks of life, community-based, family-oriented, professional, and civil-minded, of course, from the streets to the suites, or to the suits. I'm sorry, to the streets to the suits.
To the suites. No, that's the
language. To the suites. Oh, I got it. To the suites. So I just want to go over some of their services, and then I'll go into their personal bios. Some of the things that the organization provides is workshops and conferences, retreats and seminars, training and consultations, career and transitional counseling, student services, leadership development and life skills training, juvenile services, community-based programs, employment services, and school-based programs. So now our guest tonight, of course, is our own Brother Lau. He's a part of the organization. Okay. Then we have Charles Press, Charles E. McQueen, Ed Hayes, and Sonny. Is it Sonny? I'm sorry, Sonny Campbell. I'm saying that I'm sorry, saying his name incorrectly. But I'm going to read Brother Lau's bio. It's just a little short one. No, you guys know Brother Lau, but I'm just going to tell you a little bit about him either way, because he's going to be on the other side of the house in a minute. So Brother Lau has served as an educator or in education and human development specialist for more than 20 years. With more than 35 years in youth services, he has founded and directed several national initiatives designed to produce transformation in youth and adult populations lacking personal, social, and academic development that has been historically denied, and an opportunity to develop a mastery in life skills. So I'm going to pause there. That's Brother Lau. And Brother Lau will go into a little bit more as I present our next guest. Our next bio is by Charles Press. He began his 46th career in law enforcement as a police officer in 1975 with the Miami Beach Police Department. Charles worked through many levels in units, earning over 100 commendations before retiring as an assistant chief of police. Again, he's got a beautiful bio, and I'm going to let them talk about that in just a minute. But I want to go on to the next person that we have on. His name is Chief or Retired Assistant Chief Craig E. McQueen. He was employed with the City of Miami Police Department for 35 years, beginning in 1981. Chief McQueen moved up in the ranks in the following order. He was a sergeant, lieutenant, captain, commander, and major. He earned his bachelor's degree in public administration from Florida International University. He also attended the FBI National Academy Session and Senior Management Institute for Police and PERF Executive Strategic Management Session. Again, I'm going to move on to the next one because they'll be able to expound a little bit more. So our next bio is Edward Hayes. He is a businessman, a security specialist, and community leader that has advocated on behalf of those who have not advocated on behalf of themselves for more than 4 decades. Ed's passion for empowering people from all backgrounds and supporting community-based organizations has led him to work with organizations such as Concerned African Women, Inc. and the Circle of Brotherhood. Ed uses his professional skills from the United States Marine Corps, Miami Shores Police Department, and countless other studies to teach and train community leaders throughout South Florida. And our last guest is our bio by Brother Albert Campbell. He was born and raised in Miami, Florida, quote unquote, Liberty City, and is happily married to Carithia E. Wilson Campbell and proudly employed. As a young man, or at young an age, he was exposed to some very toxic environment within his community and home, which ultimately evolved into a series of unfortunate events that led Albert into federal prison with a 35-year sentence. In 2016, he was blessed to receive clemency from President Barack Obama, which reduced his prison sentence to nearly 10 years. In efforts to give back to his community, he became a community activist and has spoken to over 300 children, encouraging them not to go down the dark paths as he had done. He also helps feed the homeless and was also assigned to assist in training the City of Miami Police cadets. And so with that being said, can someone help me bring up all these wonderful individuals?
All right. Where are my peoples?
Bring them up.
I know they're out there somewhere. There they are. They're my peoples.
Let's see.
All right. Wait, I'm missing one of my peoples. I see my people.
There we go. Let's see. Do we got them all? We got Albert. Let's see.
We got them all.
We got them all?
Ed didn't jump on?
There you go. Oh,
I don't see Ed on.
Okay.
Okay,
We
so
got-
we're missing Ed this evening, but that's okay.
All right.
All right. So, well, Brother Lau, since you're now part of the panel,
I'm a guest on the Thursday Night Talks. This is the
you are a
first,
guest
right?
on the Thursday night, so you just changed hats, by the way, sir. So before we get started, I wanted to start off with Chief Charles Press, just to talk a little bit, 2 minutes about yourself, and then we're going to do a roundtable with you all, and then we really want to get into the topic that about making our community safer and more decent place to live, and some questions that we have for you.
Hi, good evening, everybody, and thank you for having me on your podcast tonight. I'm honored to be here with you all. I spent, as you said, 46 years in law enforcement, 30 years with Miami Beach Police in the darkest times of the city of Miami, when we were dealing with racial strife caused by police activity that created the riots of the 80s and 90s and brought such anger between the African American community and the police community. In 2004, I retired from Miami Beach and I became the chief of police in Key Biscayne. That was when I formed the Chief Press Foundation, which I have had for the past 17 and a half years, which has served the people of Liberty City, the children of Liberty City, in providing educational opportunities, mentoring opportunities, food, service, bringing police and inner city children closer together and trying to change that conversation that we so deeply need, that we all learn to get along with each other, understand cultural differences, and how to live together, so to speak.
Beautiful, beautiful. Retired Assistant Chief Craig McCrean, would you like to go next?
Sure. Um, uh, like Chief Press stated, I'm a veteran of 35 years of law enforcement, and I'm the product of the 80s. I got hired in 1981 during that time period. And what I really thought was going to be an easy process for me, because, hey, I'm African American, I figured the people would love me just because I'm African American. But the issue between police and the community was so vast at that point that it took a lot of work to get people to trust us. And I was fortunate enough to be placed in some units where the chiefs that I had at that time, we had some serious problems, and they gave me the opportunity to go in and try to fix those problems and to let folks know that, hey, we do work for you, and we're your law enforcement, and it's okay to talk to us, and to get our officers to get out of their cars, and instead of riding and smiling like they normally do. We wanted them to get out and speak to people. So that was the biggest change. We had to make a change within the police department, which was extremely difficult because we had all those dinosaurs still here at that time, as we used to call them. And they only believed in the way that policing was done as the 1950s. And then the young folks like myself coming in, trying to get the citizens to understand that we can also change as well. So I was just blessed to have those opportunities. And similar to Chief Press, myself and 3 other police officers started a nonprofit called Greater Miami South Florida Youth and Community Inc. as a way to continue to build a relationship with the community, because I tell folks all the time, I earned a PhD in those 35 years of putting people in jail, but I was extremely insufficient in keeping people out of trouble. So that's why we had to learn how to be preventative. And so we had a chance to start that. And so we're involved with the youth in sports activities and academics activities, something that I'm still doing while retired.
Beautiful. Wow. Well, and Brother Lau, I'm gonna leave you for last. I'm gonna let Brother Albert go and give us a little 2-minute spiel about just whatever's on your heart, Brother Albert.
Greetings to the family. As always, I'm humbled to sit amongst my peers, to be in a company of those who love our people and love our community, would like to see us rise. I am humble and grateful. Again, my name is Brother Albert Campbell. And I'm a brother that lived the life of a drug dealing mother and a drug dealing stepfather from the ages of that I can't even remember, you know. And so I experienced at a very young age robbery, SWAT kicking in the house, drug using mother, drug using stepfather, being homeless, being abused, mentally abused, physically abused. But really had my ears and my eyes on my mother, whom I loved so much, whom was a drug dealer. And in my young mind, I was thinking that it was something that they was doing wrong. You know, they was getting high off their own supply. We were being homeless. We were being robbed, and everything that you could think of. And so when I was a young boy, really a baby, the grown-ups, they really didn't know that I understood everything that was going on. You know? And so being reared in that environment for, and if I could remember back 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, when I think about my past, I think at a very young age, I could have been a junkie. I could have been at 10 years old, I could have been a heroin addict. You know, at 10 years old, I could have been a robber. At 10 years old, I could have been a drug dealer. You know, because that was my life. That's what I lived, and that's what I knew. You know, so I'm fortunate enough to be in the organization. Like you explained earlier, you know, we got brothers from the streets to the suites. You know, and I'm that brother that brings that street aspect to this organization. I know when I think about our police trainings and all the brothers that's involved in our police training, you know, I believe if police would have whispered something in my ear or told me something that I didn't know, or told me that I was intelligent, or told me that I was smart, or told me that looked like I could be doing something else, I know that would have been beneficial to my life. You know, so I'm honored to play my part. And I'm, you know, coming from where I'm coming from, or where I came from, to be the keynote speaker in front of police officers whom I thought was my enemy. You know, I'm so honored, and I thank you for having me once again.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Brother Lau, your turn. Come on.
Well, I will take the time to say that at a very critical time in the world, God has placed some very powerful men in a very powerful position. I think the work that we've been brought to do, to not just train police officers, but to transform policing and to stand as a buffer between ignorance in the field that has led to the loss of life for so long. And so we've been able to create something together. And in this dynamic, if it was spread throughout this country, we know that it would save lives. I'm humbled to be a part of this team. I'm humbled to be an orchestra director in the work that we do in terms of the actual training. I don't know if you have that clip from Channel 10. It might be a great clip to help segue us into the conversation, because I don't want people to think that these individuals you're looking at do ordinary police training work. We want you to know that what we do is so powerful and so real. Well, I guess you'll get a chance to hear about that when you start asking us the questions. But I think that would be a great segue into the dialogue, Sister Michelle. And so humbled to be with this great team. And I'll say this in closing. Each of these brothers who work on this police training team, we intimately know each other because we do the work in the community. And so this would be a great segue. Thank you, Sister Michelle.
Okay, yes, sir. Let's get this played. Cross your fingers.
Can you enlarge it?
I can. Let's see if it lets me.
Yeah, you're gonna have to wait till the video comes on.
Yeah, we may be able to.
We recently received a call from an injured person. The insurance company had offered them $11,000.
Hold on, let that pass.
Is the advertising?
Can't get away from the commercials. Yeah, it doesn't look like. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's see.
Right there. There you go.
The Miami-Dade Police Department receiving some special police training today to deal with issues concerning the Black community.
It comes with police reform in the spotlight after the death of Tyree Nichols during a traffic stop in Memphis. Local 10 News reporter Syra Anwar is in Miami with those details.
This training has been so successful that both Miami-Dade and City of Miami police departments have made this training a regular part of every cadet class.
And I think it's the most realistic training that our trainees can go through.
Entering its 6th year, the Circle of Brotherhood provides a unique police training program that puts cadets, officers, civilians, and kids face to face with the issues concerning policing in Black and brown neighborhoods.
So they get to see what our new officers go through, that we're humble, that we're here to learn, we're here to understand, and we're here to help.
The program highlighted nationally after the police beating death of Tyree Nichols in Memphis.
Now what you have is a tragedy, and worst of all, a loss of life and a loss of trust in the community with law enforcement.
The Circle of Brotherhood is an organization of primarily Black men dedicated to community causes, including crime prevention and conflict resolution.
This training hits at the core of human relationships and trauma and racism.
The organization hopes more communities follow suit.
If this training was done in police departments all across this country, you would see a drastic change in how they interact with members of the community.
Trainees commenting on their experience so far.
Understanding, a grasp of the community, not just, oh, here's a citation, here's this, here's that. I want to be able to talk to them, be able to find out what really bothers them, find out what the actual issue is and solve that problem.
We start off with the youth. We can give them the understanding that, hey, law enforcement is not the enemy. If we all get together, we have the conversations that need to be had, that we all have the same goals.
And here in Brownsville, 38 cadets are participating in today's training. That is the very latest from Brownsville. Syra Anwar, Local 10 News.
Wow. Okay, that's it. Let's close that out. 1 second.
Right. And thank you, Sister Michelle. And I'll just say this as you all segue into your questioning, that training that you're witnessing in that video, again, if it was taking place in other places, you see a marked difference. And so this team that works together to do that, we've been doing it pre-George Floyd. And you cannot compare what we do to what you might call your regular so-called cultural awareness training or your sensitivity training or your racial equity inclusivity training. It really hits at the core of human relationships. And so we're able to get these cadets as well as they come out the nest. And so I'll just stop there and allow you all to.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to throw out the first question, and I really would like to hear from each one of you on this particular view. The first question that we have is, what are your thoughts as former law enforcement individuals on this Tyree Nichols murder case, and what did you see from your training lens? That's one portion of the question. And then the other portion of the question is, what did COB, Circle of Brotherhood, see from a cultural and community lens? And anybody can take this one. But I would
let the officers respond first, and then Brother Albert, myself, will follow up.
Okay. Yes. Sir.
Okay. Well, I'm the old guy, and I've been around law enforcement for a lifetime. I come from a blue blood family. My father, my brother, myself. And what I saw on that video was one of the most repulsive, despicable acts of murder that you could ever witness on a video. It's really hard to put into words when you've dedicated your life to a service to try and protect, to try and literally serve communities, to watch what those police officers did, not only the violent behavior, but the lack of empathy from officers who were standing around also and allowed this activity to occur in front of their eyes. And I could tell you that for every step forward that we take in this profession, we just took 100 steps backward with that. And you would think that we would learn from what we saw with George Floyd, with what you've seen in so many of these videos, that it would hit home in ways that police officers just couldn't even consider getting themselves involved in something so bizarre and something so horrific. And yet we still don't get it. And I'm also going to say that that isn't the norm of everyday activity by police officers. But the fact that these incidents continue to happen means that we haven't done the job of training our police officers to understand, have empathy, realize what their roles truly are, and how to understand and learn cultural differences. And that's where we failed, and that's why these things seem to continue to go on.
Well, again, from my experience, as the chief stated, I was mortified when I saw that, and particularly for the unit that was involved. I've had the pleasure of having 5 such units work for me that was designed, as we call them, problem-solving teams or crime suppression teams. But the key element in all of those teams is proper supervision. You have to have proper supervision, because these men and women are going out there and attacking the crime element that the normal police officers don't have a chance to do. They're going after the folks who are involved in narcotics. They're going after the robbery offenders. They're going after the burglary offenders, and also the wanted subjects. So there's always that area where you got to maintain control and composure. And remember, even when you're dealing with a criminal, that person is still a human. So you cannot lose sight of that. Now, not saying that Mr. Nichols was a criminal in any way, but the way these officers were treating him, when I first saw that video, you would have thought he just murdered 20 people. I was extremely upset when I saw the way the one officer approached the vehicle. So all of the training that I have actually had, that I actually attended, and all of the training that I actually gave, because I also trained at the academy level, also trained in-service people, and also trained people that were involved in what we call survival detail, which we give them street scenarios to handle street type incidents. All of that went out the window with these guys. But the first thing I noticed, there was no supervision. There was no sergeant, no lieutenant, no corporal, nobody of rank on either scene. And the chief has already admitted herself that the lack of supervision causes problem. But here's the problem, as the chief stated. In police work, we've had these examples already happen. We're supposed to be moving forward. One of the bad cases here in Miami were the river cops. This was a group of guys working midnight shift that did not have a supervisor for 6 months.
Right.
And it was only 6 of those officers. You know, I know the media tried to blow it as if it was 25, 30 officers. No, it was only really 6 of them that created the problem. But because of not having a supervisor, you had folks taking actions and doing whatever they wanted to do and felt like they were basically invincible in what they were doing, and nobody could stop them because there was nobody there to stop them. And that's what I felt like with watching this incident. And as the chief stated, for every mile that we move forward in police community relations, all it takes is one incident like this. And as we try to tell the young officers, welcome to the only profession in the United States where someone can do something in Minnesota and it affects the officers in Miami. We all know that in other professions, people can do stuff and it's that individual. But when it comes to law enforcement, when a bad incident happened in law enforcement, all law enforcement officers are seen in that light. And as the chief stated earlier, law enforcement officers have thousands, hundreds of thousands of contact with citizens and never one incident. take place because they're doing it the right way. But then when you have something like this take place, it sets all that good behavior and all of that good work that these officers do aback, because everyone would say, am I next? And it shouldn't be no more am I next. We should have learned from this from before, and now here's another example that we need to learn from. And that's why this incident was extremely disturbing to me, that here we go again. And let's be honest, when I was waiting on the video to come in before I saw who the officers were, you couldn't have told me that this was going to be 5 African-American officers. I was shocked. But again, it hit the point home that when you think that you don't have to treat a person as a human, or you forget that you're dealing with a human. And it don't matter what race you are. And those brothers, for that period of time, was not treating Mr. Nichols as a human. And they forgot that only 1% of the people out there committing the crime, not 98%, only 1%. And let's deal with that 1%. Even with that 1%, we still have to treat him as a human. So I was shocked. I was shocked.
You know, this incident, it just reminds me of the past.
Brother Albert, it sounds like you got some kind of interference in the background.
I'm not Brother Albert.
Yes.
It might be.
I don't have anything going on here.
Okay, it sounds like it might be in the
maybe
it's a little interference, my brother. Yeah. Perhaps if you log off and come right back on.
Okay, I'll do that. All right. While Brother Albert is logging off and coming back on, I want to put something in perspective that makes this team so unique. You know, so what I saw in the video is what I've seen my whole life. I haven't just seen it on a TV screen or on a video. I've seen it in person. I've lived it. I've been through it. I've watched others go through it. And so for me to now be 56 plus years young and still be witnessing that there is a culture of animalism,
right?
A culture of superiority that has to be wiped out of all institutions, including the institution of policing. And I must say, as I come through my personal feelings, I understand the critical role that we play together now to make sure that, number one, we check those kind of abuses. And lastly, I just want to say, so people are crystal clear, the circle of brotherhood, we're not the type of brothers to see something like that happening in our community and stand around and videotape and watch. We're just not those kind of brothers, even if it would cost us our life. And so there must be something done that will get at the root of changing the culture of policing. And I think what we do together, it plays a role in that. And I'll segue to Brother Albert on that.
Okay, Brother Albert.
Am I sounding a little better?
Oh, much better. 1,000%.
Okay, thank you.
1,000% better.
Thank you. So just, looking at that incident, it just reminds me of all the incidences that happened before then. And what kind of like sets us back, but which was a good experience for us, because we were basically concentrating on people that come into our community doing policing that did not look like us and did not understand us. But when we view the last incident that just happened, all of those officers look just like us.
Right.
And so that gives us more work to do in our community, because our community now, not only that they have to look at the people that don't look like them, now they are suspicious of the officers that look like them. You know, and this is why the Circle of Brotherhood with the police training that we're doing is the perfect vehicle to build those relationships.
On that note, if I could segue into another question, what makes the training of the Circle of Brotherhood in relation to police, especially in light of these type of incidents like the Tyree Nichols and the George Floyd incidents, and all these countless incidents that have been happening and continue to happen in America? What makes the training offered by the Circle of Brotherhood unique, effective, and important in the eyes of those who partake in it?
If I can start off on this one and then let the officers respond, and Brother Albert, I want people to understand that our training, first of all, it's not a police-led training. It is a community-based training led by members of the community. And as you saw in that video clip, the chief, the director of the department, turns those cadets over to us for the entire day. And as they go through a transformative experience of not just learning about themselves and each other, but learning about the different techniques that many of us have learned over the years that build proper relationships. And then when you look together, where you have former police officers with community activists, with transformation, human development specialists, with brothers from the hood, and you mix all that into the bag of tricks, usually in police training, to be quite honest, it's just police training the police. And I'll pause there and let the others chime in.
So I'll tell you that I probably got 4,000 hours of police training. I've been to the FBI Academy, the Southern Police Institute, thousands of hours of training. And in all of that time, there has never been a more realistic, in your face, honest community relation training that we're trying to provide to these young officers now. And the difference is that this doesn't come from a book. This comes from people who are living real life. This comes from people like Brother Lyle, who has lived his life, from Brother Albert, who's come from the streets, now living in the suites. This comes from cops who have had to face all of those dangerous situations that we have. And yet we understand, myself, Chief McQueen, that we haven't done it the right way all the time. We teach cops how to drive cars, how to write reports, learn the law, do this, do that, and go through what I consider a very unsuccessful program of teaching relationships and actually understanding cultural differences and what empathy means, what having the opportunity to learn from each other means. So this training changes all of that. And when these young cops hear this from the brothers, when these young cops hear this from chiefs of police, and they aren't out on the street yet, and they don't get poisoned by that old, bitter, angry cop who's been out there forever, who's just got nothing really good to teach them except protect yourself. We got to go home. Well, you bet. We all have to go home. The community has to go home. We have to go home. We're all brothers, sons, daughters. We all bleed. We all breathe the same air. So that's the difference in this training that I believe, as Brother Lyle has said so eloquently, could change the world if we could take this from Miami and shift this thing across the country.
And I'll add to that, those six months that those recruits are in the academy, it's rigid, It's paramilitary. It's designed to have them be prepared to deal with the criminal element, and not enough time is spent on dealing with the good citizens of the community. Because again, the way the training is set up, we have to prepare these men and women to be cops for a certain element. And to have these rookies when they first come out, because the worst thing you can do, you take a rookie officer, and I trained at the academy, and like the chief, have thousands of hours of training and given thousands of hours of training. The one thing we can never do with rookie police officers is, as soon as they graduate, turn them loose on the street, because they are so full of go-get-ems that everybody and their grandmama is on the other side. It's us versus them. So we have those 2 weeks or 3 weeks after academy period to calm them down and get them ready to really see the real world.
Mm-hmm.
This training, which should be, again, every police department out there should be doing this type of training. And I think federal money should be tied to it. So that way you say, you want to get your federal dollars, make sure your people go through this type of training. Because now it takes away that rigid form of training where it's us versus them, to realize that it's all us. And remember, your families are out there as part of us, and you want them to be treated the way you want to be treated. And one of the questions I always ask the kids is, how many of you guys have had a bad experience with a police officer? Or how many of your family members have had a bad experience with police officers? And you'll see most of those cadets raise their hand. So we want to let them know that it's okay to get away from the rigid point of view and not lose your safety point, but to remember that we're still in the people business. Law enforcement is people driven. It's a people business. And we have to change the narrative from everybody do what we say, and we're not doing anything other than telling people what to do, instead of treating people as a service. And how do we provide a service? By getting to know the people. It's okay to get out of your car and say, hey, Mr. Jones or Mr. Rodriguez or Mr. Smith, Mr. Gerstein, how you doing today? I'm your police officer. I'm going to be out here from till 1 o'clock in the evening. If anything go on, let me know. We forgot about that. We forgot about that because, again, we got to be rigid. We got to stay with the what the standards say we do. So that's why this training, catching these young officers now before they hit the streets, to let them know that it's okay. You are a community servant, and be a community servant. Talk to people. And the more you talk to people, the more they'll talk back to you. And you'll be surprised how many things you can get done. And I'll give you some examples of that later on about park and walk details and what I was able to do with those.
I have a question, and you can add on if brother Albert, you can chime in. I think you were about to say something, but I didn't want to lose this thought, because what's going on in my mind, honestly, is the stigmatization of how Black and brown and how we're looked at in some ways, villainized on television, and police officers are human beings, right? It's a career, right? You go into it, but somehow we're in certain neighborhoods, or how we are as people, we're looked at in a very different way. And so when they're coming into these types of positions and they're being trained and taught, what seems to happen, right? They get some of the training, but the loss of sensitivity and the empathy when it comes down to, yes, all people are decent, but when you're going into a crime infested community, then something switches. So how does the Circle of Brotherhood talk about that? Because that's a real issue, because how we're looked at, right, is how somewhat we're treated, even though that's not the case. And in certain neighborhoods, it's that thought process, or that thought is, well, nothing but drug dealers, and ain't nothing but this. They just shooting up each other, and they ain't got respect for themselves, and so it's that mindset that happens. So how do you deal with that? How do you create sensitivity and empathy when you're walking in a neighborhood and you're already, as an officer, and you may be a one of color and one of maybe not of color, but you're full of fear. And so how do you deal with that?
Well, I will just say, and I'm just going to lead into Brother Albert, that this gentleman right here gets standing ovations from police cadets after he talks to them. This is a man who went through the system for 22.3 years. And when he is through talking to these cadets as a human being, those cadets who came into that class 8 hours earlier as these rigid, as Chief McQueen says, these rigid trained cadets, and they hear humanity speaking, mistakes made or life-changing issues that happen, that is where we have lacked forever. We just haven't trained in a humanistic way because we felt the only way to train was to protect ourselves and to put bad guys in jail without realizing that everybody who makes a mistake is not a bad person. So I'll turn that over to Brother Albert because he owns that crowd at the end of the day.
Thank you, Chief Press. What I do in my presentation, I present myself as the person that they are serving, the person from the past, the present, and the future. And what I do is I bring them into our world, because, a person may have looked at me and said, well, he was a drug dealer, he was a poison seller to our people, but they don't know what I've been through. They don't know how I was brought up. You know what I mean? They don't know the abuses. They don't know that when after all the hell that I was living in as a young child, when I went to school, that was kind of like a vacation away from the hell that I was living in every day. And so when you come into a community and you don't know what these people are going through, you don't have no idea. You see a young lady, she's pregnant, and she have a baby and she have another baby. You have no idea that the people right in the home that she live in is the father of her baby that could be her father or a boyfriend. So people don't know what we go through in that small area that we be in, and we have to tell them, or we have to bring them face to face, as if they're living in as if we taking them out of reality and bringing them into our world. You know what I mean? And so it is one thing to go through the trainings as a police officer. That's one thing. You know what I mean? But just like Brother Ed, so they took some members from the Circle of Brotherhood, and we went to the police training center, and we went through their training. You know what I mean? And we had no idea what they went through, the pressure that they went through, the split-second decisions that they went through, and all of that stuff they had to do, the training that they had to do to become a police officer. Well, at the same token, you got to come in the neighborhood, and you got to go through some scenarios, and you got to listen to some people that done been through some things. You know what I mean? And what we come to find out is the same cadets that sit before us. Some of they same family members have been going through some of the same things that we experience. You know, so we teach them in a very real way, what they're dealing with when they come into our community. Because we don't. They said that we are products of our environment, but when you are a product of your environment in the deepest sense of the word through experience, man, you are really other than your own self, and it takes somebody to understand what you've been through to deal with you properly. And so that's what I bring to them.
I just want to add one thing onto that in reference to your question, Sister Michelle, and that is there literally is a part of our training where 99% of the individuals, they're getting introduced to the historic roots of white supremacy and Black inferiority for the very first time. And they're getting it in real time. and they're digesting it as they're actually realizing that we've all been participating in this for all of our lives. But being in the community, we're in the hood, and when they come in the hood and they see the love in the people, it removes that false sense of fear and that false sense of belief. So there's a sincere, deep cultural and psychological training aspect to understanding white supremacy. That's also a part of what we do.
Brother Lyle, in
sorry.
relation to making our community safer and more decent places to live, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I'm echoing, of course, what he desired for us to do in making our communities more safe, more decent places to live. It requires for us to not just learn, but also unlearn. I have a question in regards to that. What tangible success stories, if you could offer some that have come out of this particular training, have you? What dialogue, what actions have you seen and experienced firsthand that have made a change and a difference here, particularly in Miami?
I give 3 quick examples off the top. And I want people to understand that we're also the type of organization that hold the feet of our local police departments to the fire when they're out of order. And so I want people to be crystal clear about that. And because of the mutual respect, when incidences and things take place, we're some of the first ones who get a chance to look at this footage and look at this video and even advise. And I'll never forget, I was sitting in an office of one of the local city chief of polices, and we're watching a video of a police officer abusing a young brother. And out of nowhere, out of this video, you see this young cop come and not just intervene, but break it up. And I recognized him. He was a rookie cop that's been through our training. There have been individual cops who have gone into our community, and instead of arresting people, they call the Circle of Brotherhood because they know the type of services that we have and what we provide. And the last example is we had an officer who knew nothing about our community, grew up extremely privileged. But after that one training experience, I remind you, this is Community Police Relations 101. There's other levels we have to go to. But he annually now has an event with his family in our community. So those are relationships that are changing forever just based upon that. And I'm sure you all have some as well.
If I could add one, this last session we just had, the program that I started with the other police officers involved youth sports. And one of the young men that was sitting in the classroom as one of the students was a young man that played football for me a couple of years ago. As soon as he saw me, his pants was a little sag and he pulled his pants up because he realized that Coach McQueen / the police officer had just walked into the room. And I called him out during the training session, and you can just see the difference because we've had a chance to be together. He saw me not only as a coach, but he also saw me as that police officer that he could talk to, and the mutual respect was there. One thing I wanted to add, the problem, as Chief Press and I would tell you, when you take young people, age 19 years old now, that's how young they can be as police officers. Some of them have never had any interaction with anyone other than the folks in their own neighborhood. So now you're giving them the power of that gun and that badge and that state law book to go out and to police. So, of course, as was mentioned, what they see on TV or what they've heard their families say or what they listen to the rap music and other music and any type of music that's is basically being derogatory toward people, that's how they're going to react. So now you're taking that away and say, by the way, let me show you what the community is really all about. Let me show you that, yes, there is some issues in certain communities, but look at all the good people that are in these communities. And myself as one, not being born in Miami, I moved here in 1971. I had to learn Miami. I had to learn it. because I come from a small town in Panama, Florida, called Panama City, Florida. We had black and white, and that was it. I didn't know black, Jamaicans, Haitians, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, even to a point with the Jewish folks. My experience was very, very limited. So I had to learn mine. And I had to do that as a young person just to survive. So I know when we get these young officers that are coming in and they're 19 years old and the only job they ever had was maybe at one of our local food places, they have zero experience. But now, because of this training, they get a chance to speak to a Brother Albert. They get a chance to see a Chief Press who found it not robbery to go to a black community and give out toys that he collected from the white community, showing them that there's an issue that right across the water that these kids need some help. And he found it not robbery to do that. So yes, it's vitally important, and it does get people out of their comfort zone, because that police academy comfort zone is one thing. And when those folks hit the streets, we want them to have a comfort zone of being able to deal with everybody. And that's why the training is the reason why I got involved. Because I have to tell you, I'm very hesitant when I lend my name to something, because if it has no purpose, I'm not gonna march just to march anymore. I'm not having rallies to have rallies anymore. I need to see results when I get involved in something. And when I was contacted by Brother Lyle and of course Chief Press, hey, this is something that you need to get involved in. And I saw it for the first time and I realized how important it is. And I said, okay, this is what's missing. And again, it's because the kids get a chance to get out of that police rigid comfort zone, which they're gonna need to once they hit the streets.
Wow. Does anybody else want to share any kind of success stories?
Yeah, I want to share a Chief Press success story, because I want people to understand who and what they're looking at, and to my fellow members of the Nation of Islam, I'll say to you that Chief Press is just as important and loving to me as Father Flager is to the minister. I met Chief Press in the hood. I met Chief Press, and even though he was a police officer, he wasn't policing in the hood. He was building bridges and relationships based upon the love that he had, for wanting to see people live a full life. And so we've actually worked in the trenches of the hood together. That man you're looking at right there, Chief Press, he took 10 young people from one of the worst parts of Miami, flew them all the way across the country, and they had a chance to spend time at a national conference with Barack Obama. They didn't go with Chief Press just because it was a free trip. It's because he built a genuine relationship. And he also, I got to let people know, he's not just so-called former Chief Press. Chief Press is in the State Hall of Fame of policing because of the community work that he's done. And he jokingly likes to say he gets more hugs and kisses in Liberty City when he goes home. That's because the people honor and respect him, because his work speaks for itself. And lastly, he's been the chief of chiefs. And so when you can have that kind of influence, we've been able to provide this training with 5 local police departments. 2 of them now make it mandatory for their cadets to go through. And so I think that's transformative.
I think so too. And I just want to say, Brother Lau, right behind you, I think they do absolutely need to see Chief Press, because they can identify and see if he, at his level, can show empathy and concern, right? And love for a community that may not look like him. This should tell them to themselves that then maybe I need to change my thinking if I'm not thinking in that manner, or I'm not taking this opportunity, this career that I'm taking on as life-saving and not life-taking. So I just wanted to come right behind you and say that.
Well, in relation to the trainings that you do, Brother Lyle, and everyone else here, Brother Albert and Chief Press, Chief McQueen, what are we planning next? What is being planned next in terms of the trainings for police locally here in Miami?
Well, I'd like to say something, and then I'd like you all to cast your vision along with it too. Let's not get it twisted, family. This is Community Police Training 101. And so for anyone who's ever gone to college or the university, you're just getting the basics. But we also have to realize, if we keep the boot off of the neck of one brother, if we keep the fist of an officer out of the face of one citizen, then we're making a tremendous impact. But the idea is, and I got to give the city of Miami credit, they saw what we were doing with their cadets. We actually have trained the entire command staff for the city of Miami Police Department. And so we look forward to, of course, expanding this, but then there's other levels of training that we can go to. We cannot stop. There was a call for a new educational paradigm. We're calling for a new policing paradigm.
When I hear the word police reform, I always tell the folks that I'm in front of, there's no such thing as, you can't get rid of the police. I mean, we don't want that. I don't think anybody want to pick up the phone and dial 911 and a carpenter show up. When you dial 911, you want your police to show up. But this is the perfect form of police reform, to see an issue, correct the issue, and show the benefits of what you're doing to make sure that the police is properly trained and understand their role, because they play a vital role in keeping everyone safe, including themselves. So this is the type of police reform that's needed, so that way officers understand to learn who they're dealing with and how to deal with them. And also remember, yes, there's bad guys and bad girls out there that's going to cause problems, but not everybody you stop is a bad guy, bad girl. They should be able to, and also be able to de-escalate when necessary. So if I had my way about it, yes, we're here now, but this should be a national model that all agencies follow. And we should be able to get to those folks up in DC and have a little meeting with them. And if not, maybe have them come to the training and see what has been done here in Miami. Because I can tell you wholeheartedly, when we're engaged in the community, in Miami at one point, we shot 7 unarmed people during a particular time period, and not one rock was thrown by the community because of the fact we had been out there in the community, and the community respected us enough to come to the station and go, okay, show us what happened here. Show us why this action took place. We had meetings at churches. We had meetings in the local school. And that's what kept Miami from exploding again, because Miami has a history of exploding. If you guys know, from 1980 until the last Super Bowl in the 90s, every even year, we were having civil disturbance, and we had to learn from that. So this is a proper learning model. And again, if I had my way, I would take all of these brothers with me. We'll go right to the vice president's office and say, okay, you're in charge of police reform. Let us show you what true police reform should look like. And here's a perfect example of it. And we can start with those recruits, get those in-service people, and as Brother Lyle said, the staff, because the department goes as their chief goes. And when their chief is involved in ensuring that people are treated the right way, then guess what? Those men and women that work for him is going to emulate that throughout. But if you got a chief that's only interested in numbers and nothing else really matters, and they're out there. Trust me, we've all worked for them. But those are really just waiting on an incident to take place. So while this is going on, if I could have my way, we would get these brothers in front of the vice president or whoever's in charge of the police reform board, and let's get this going throughout the whole country.
Brother Albert.
Yeah, so I'll add with that. During the process of us doing what it is that we do, we have to understand that we deal with people from the streets. We deal with them boys out there, right? And so there was a period of time that our community, they looked at the Circle of Brotherhood and they like, are they police? Can we trust them? Will they turn us in? I mean, what are they doing? You know? And so when they bring a brother like me, like I have street cred and I have prison cred. And so when you, and I'm not a snitch, I'm not a rat, I'm a stand-up man, and I am a student of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, you know. And so them boys from the streets, you know, we through our work, they begin to trust in the work that we do. They're like, nah, they not police, even though we're bringing something in the community that has never been in the community before. And so once we show our community that we love them, and once we pour into those cadets, because you can't serve a people who you don't love.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have, and so all of us have a different piece of this gumbo that we put together, but it's rooted in love and it's rooted in the trust that the community have for us, because all of the work that Chief Press been doing, and all the work that the Major been doing, and all the relationships they have been building throughout their 20, 30, and 40 years. And so I know, man, the thing that we do is rooted in God. And our community, they've been crying and they've been praying nearly all their life for God to send an organization that's going to come and make their life and make their community a better place to live. And I bear witness that the Circle of Brotherhood is that good ship that they've been waiting on and praying for.
Mm. I have and maybe I should wait to the end, but I'm going to ask the question now, and starting with Chief Press. Give me your top advice would you give to anyone, right? That's, you know, in these type of incidents that have occurred in the neighborhoods or whatever, young people that may be in a situation with a police officer, and how to kind of, you know, get out of, you know, when I say get out of it, meaning get out of it safely, right? Wherever the situation is, get a ticket or whatever the situation, so that it doesn't escalate into something else. What your top three advice would you be for young people or people of color, or anyone that we see right now that's being, at least it being attacked in a sense during these incidents?
Well, that, you know, I wish that Tyree would have had the opportunity to interact with those 5 cops. And from the videos that I've seen, he didn't have a moment to do anything the right way or the wrong way.
You didn't have a chance.
So I tell people this all the time, because I myself have been stopped by police officers. It's a very unnerving situation. It's a very simple process. Listen. Don't react. You have plenty of time to make a complaint if you have an abusive police officer. But at that one moment, whether that police officer is the best in the world or whether that police officer should have never been given that badge and that gun, there is a control factor there that can escalate simply by reacting in a negative way to the stop itself. So my thing is, when I was stopped, I did 10 and 12. I let them see my hands. I waited for the 2 different police officers in 2 situations, and one included me being in my police car in the state of New Jersey, where I was stopped by a New Jersey state trooper, and he got out of that car and put his hat on and scared the hell out of me, because I had a government tag and I saw this guy was very, very rigid and very serious. I never did anything but listen to everything he asked me to do until that was over. Never saw my badge, got my ticket, said thank you, and went on my way. So the idea of confronting in that moment is the worst thing that anybody could do. Now, what's our natural thing to do to protect ourselves when we're being attacked? It's natural. I don't care if you're a cop, if you're a civilian, you're being attacked, you want to protect yourself. But in most cases, it's that verbal interaction, that license and registration, that the circle is famous for getting these cops to understand that simply demanding a license and registration can cause chaos if it's not presented the right way and if it's interpreted the wrong way. Do what they ask, live for another day, and take your case to the police department. Police departments now have taken internal affairs cases more seriously than they ever have. And if they don't take it to the state, people have phones. Cops wear cameras now. They're bound by law to turn those cameras on and use the system to your advantage if you feel you're being wronged, but don't do it at that moment in time.
I will echo that. You can tell if you're dealing with a professional police officer or a buttwad within the first 10 seconds of that conversation. I tell all the young folks that I deal with, and particularly some of the high schoolers and college people I get a chance to speak to, number one, stop that car. Keep your hands visible. Prior to keeping your hands visible, these kids are so quick to record everything. Put your phone right on that dash, record it, and listen. Just listen. A ticket is far more better than a bullet. Listen. If you got an aggressive cop, why argue with an aggressive cop? He or she will win. Don't say a word. Give your information. If you're sitting on your wallet, let them know I'm sitting on my wallet. Do I have permission to get it, or do you want me to get out the car and you get it from my back pocket? Don't create a problem, because if you do, then at the end of the day, you want to go home. And as the chief stated, please, folks, it's okay to file a complaint. Most times, especially in African American and Latin communities, if they don't receive a ticket or anything happen and they're let go, they just go home and say, okay, I'm going to let that go because I got treated like a child. But since nothing happened to me on the negative side, I'm not going to form a complaint. And that's the worst thing in the world to happen, because we find out that officers have had a trail of complaints, but only one person has filed it. Right. So first and foremost, listen, no sudden movements, keep your hands visible, and just listen. And if you listen to that officer, you can tell from the beginning what type of encounter it's going to be. And even if the person wants to get a little rough with you, patting you down and stuff of that nature, again, if they're violating your rights, you have the right to not only sue him, sue that department, file those complaints, but do it. And all it takes, and I can tell you from the law enforcement side, when you start getting complaints and the NAACP and different groups are coming in filing complaints on you, you straighten up your act because you realize that, hey, I messed up. But if no one ever complains because of your treatment of them verbally and physically, then these folks will continue to get away with it. But for our young brothers and sisters, don't argue, just listen. Do exactly what they say. And if you are right on that ticket, trust me, that officer decision is just for that night. It's not the end all. You can still get to go to court. You still, he or she has to prove it. The judge makes that final decision. So go to court instead of going to a funeral home.
That's right.
Thank you.
So I'll say real briefly, Brother Ed is not participating tonight, but every member of the Circle Brotherhood, we have orientation that each member go through before they become a member. And Brother Ed, he teaches force on force training. So he teaches us about when they stop us in the car, where to put our hands at, what to say, and the stuff that the major just explained right there. So every member of the Circle Brotherhood, we go through in our orientation of force on force training to deal with the interaction with the police officers.
So I'll just add two things. One is to our brothers and sisters who are listening out there, and you have the mindset, you know, and Chief, I'm glad you prefaced your remarks by saying the brother Tyree, he never had a chance to do any of that.
That's right.
Fam, you got to understand when your life is on the line, you might have learned a little move or two of how to fight. It don't always go perfect, but if you use it, you got a better chance of surviving than not.
Right.
So when you hear these techniques in this training, put it to use. Let's just be honest. I know a lot of black men teach their sons this, but are you stepping outside of your house to teach our young brothers how to survive so they can make it home at night? And so the techniques, do they always work? No. Do you want to learn how to use them in case you need them to work? Yes. And I must say this last thing, in respect and honor to Tyree, in respect and honor to George Floyd, and so many other names that we could say. Never be the aggressor in words, deeds, or action. However, if aggressed upon, fight with those who will fight with you, and God will grant you the victory.
That's right.
You know, and so for all of those slain brothers and slain sisters and slain youth who have become martyrs in this modern day massacre of brutality, may we ever come closer to realizing that we have to find our humanity again. And my last point is, don't think that this training we're talking about, it just automatically turns somebody who has a hard heart into a precious angel.
Right.
But it does expose them.
Yes.
We can see who you are for what you are. And you know now that we know who and what you are. And I have been involved in having police chiefs get fired and having officers get fired and having people who have been damaged by the police vindicated. And so I'll just stop there and let you all choose how to close from there.
As we, Sister Michelle, as we start landing this plane, maybe we should start moving towards final comments and commentary from our panelists.
So I have a final comment.
Yes,
so
sir.
With all that have been said and shared by our team that have been sent by God, you have to come experience this stage for yourself to really see the impact, you know, because like Chief Press say, we don't have notes, you know, we don't, you know, it's not pre-recorded, it's not, you know, but you know, for example, the last cadet class, it was a bunch of young people that had young energy. And so we adjust to the classes that we have. And you just, I invite everyone that's listening, you should make it your business to come visit one of these trainings. And you won't be the same after you leave. And you're not even a cadet. I promise you that.
Yes, sir.
Well, if I can just close with this.
Yes, sir.
Police departments spend countless amount of hours training on the one weapon that they will hardly use, which is their firearm. And not enough time on the weapon they use every day that gets them in trouble, which is their words and their mouth. This training gives police officers understand that what they say and how they treat people is just as important as that firearm that they have on their side. And so we need to encourage folks and continue this training and make it something, a movement in honor of the folks who lost their life, but also to prevent other people from losing their life. And let's get those conversations started and not let this just be a thing to do in Miami. It should be something that goes nationwide. Let's train on that one thing that gets you in trouble, that mouth. And that way we can prevent the other things from happening. And I thank you guys for inviting me. I'm honored to be here tonight.
Thank you, Chief McQueen.
Thank
Chief
you.
Press.
I had a closing statement at our last training, and I wanted the cadets to hear these last words before we closed out our day. That as police officers, we have two tools in our basket that are the greatest tools we could have. Number one, we have discretion and the right to use that discretion. Not everybody who breaks the law needs to get a ticket, needs to go to jail. There are circumstances that we don't understand that we need to realize could have caused that particular behavior. So discretion is the key to victory in an encounter with human being and police officers. The second thing I talked about, the most important thing, is empathy. What we don't realize is that that word is probably one of the least used words in America today. People are angry. People are at each other's throat. People talk at each other, not to each other. And until you put yourself in somebody else's shoes, until you realize that life is not the same for all of us, then you can't be a great public servant. So in order to do that right, discretion, empathy, and honor and integrity above everything else. And that's how I would close tonight. And I want to thank everybody. I want to especially thank Brother Lyle, who has been my partner for 18 years now, and who has helped me transform me into a better human being. Forget about cop, but a better human being.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Such an honor. So how do you follow something like that, Chief? You ain't right doing that, Chief. You ain't right, you know.
How I feel.
Thank you, my good brother. So look, family. Let me just say this, because I know you keep hearing about this training and you're trying to imagine it, you know. But the brother said it best: if you don't experience it, you can't imagine it. Right. We were blessed to have in our city for Peace Summit just a couple of weeks ago during Dr. Martin Luther King's birth anniversary, formerly known as Student Minister Tony Muhammad, now known as Minister Abdul Saeed. Our beloved brother,
Abdul Malik Saeed.
Abdul Malik Saeed, yes, sir. Our beloved brother had a chance to experience spending some time with the Circle of Brotherhood. And he said these words. He said, I've been all over this country and other places. And what you all are doing here with the Circle of Brotherhood, it isn't happening anywhere else like this in the country. And I only share that to say that all of you who are out there that have a part of the solution, get on the playing field and play your part. I don't know. Maybe you do have another group of brothers from the hood that train the police and it's mandatory. Maybe you do. I don't know. I'm just saying. But the beautiful thing about it all is don't take for granted that those young officers, when we go around in our circle, they're 21 and 22 and 23 and 24. They're young. And so we're getting the eggs right out of the nest. And when you have directors of departments begin to understand that, change gonna come. So change is here, and we got a methodology. And go to our website and look up more of our civil servant training. We also now train public defenders. No new public defenders coming to Miami-Dade County without coming through our training again. And we're going after the state's attorney's office next.
Let me just before you all close out, and we'll all let you go. We know we've spent quite a bit of time on this topic, but I just wanted to say on the last note, because of your unique training, do you allow or how is it, or how can other communities utilize your services? Is it something that you can do virtually? Do you have to do these things in person, or has that been thought about on how to move it on another level or platform where people can access it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be all above. Just like anything else that's authentic, you got to get the real deal first.
Yeah.
We can travel. We all traveled before.
Yes, we will.
Communities need to stand up for their communities. If the police departments won't seek what they need, then the community, you better seek what you need to have some courage to allow organizations and individuals like us to come into your cities. And we have the credibility and the relationships to do it. And we definitely know how to do the transformative part of it.
Beautiful. Perfect. Well, I just want to thank everyone for coming on Thursday Night Talks to really talk about this issue. It is really something that it's important, especially, it's funny, in one of the moments, the State of Union address the other night, it's that conversation, right, that we have to have with our children, that others that don't. And it is a scary thing, but to know that organizations like Circle of Brotherhood are doing what you can do to help sensitize the situation and really de-escalate by training, really sensitivity training and training about empathy and care and love and understanding and not prejudging. It helps, right? We know doesn't solve everything, but we know that everybody has to play a part in really making our community safer and more decent. And it comes from both sides. And again, I just want to thank you all for what you do and the passion to really try to do what you can to save our babies. Because at the end of the day, Tyree and all these others that unfortunately dealt with these particular individuals in law enforcement lost their lives. And that's somebody's child, somebody's brother, somebody's father, and it meant something. These people are human beings. And so I just thank you all for coming on and really sharing what you do. And hopefully the people in the audience have heard the same and share and like and share this platform with whomever you think that can benefit from this information that we provided this evening. And so again, my heart, my soul just says thank you, thank you, thank you. I know Brother Lau, we love Brother Lau, and we know that if Brother Lau has put his heart and soul into this, then we know it's a good thing. So
Brother Lyle has been on this platform for how long, Brother Lyle? We've been doing this as a 7th Region Coalition.
It's 2020?
2020.
It's 2020.
Many times those that have been tuning in didn't know that you've been involved in this level of work, my brother. And so we thank you, Brother Albert, Chief McQueen, Chief Press. Thank you for the hard work that you are committed to help transform our communities and produce the change that we want to see. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. We will let you go. We will finish out our segment, but again, feel free.
Brother Lau, you could stay.
Put my host hat back on now.
You can put your host back on.
All right.
Back on.
Well,
appreciate you, brothers, for coming on, brothers.
Thank you.
Oh, Sister Michelle cut herself off.
No, I don't want to take off Sister Michelle.
Okay.
Oh, did you take me? Oh, you took me off.
You're back. You're back, Sister Michelle. No, hold on, Sister Michelle. Sister Michelle, I'm pressing the button, Sister Michelle.
Stay right
I got you back on, Sister Michelle.
Right. Stay right there, because I know you get ready to do the tree of the week. But before you do the tree of the week, I don't want people to forget about the 7th Region Coalition Cash App.
Come
That's
on.
right. Hold on.
If you have benefited from tonight's program or any of our programs, if you even have learned something new that'll benefit your life as well as the life of others, make a donation tonight
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You know how the song goes. Come on, family.
Right. Put 5 on it, but don't sing the rest of the song.
Don't sing the rest of the song, please.
Family, don't just think about supporting us. Take the time to do it.
That's right.
3 years strong, family, and we still love you, and we're still helping to save lives. Do your
Praise God. And before we move on from there, from Cash App, please, again, Cash App. Don't forget to
subscribe, like,
share.
Come on, family. Look,
share it with someone you care about.
We have a library of information, inspiration, motivation, teaching, and training, and it's one of a kind from the 7 Million Coalition. Pick your topic and let your family get exposed to this, family. Like, share, subscribe. Come on now. Do your part.
All right. Perfect. And I think the last thing is, if I can
bring it on, Sister Michelle. The 3 of the week. We don't want to miss this one. Come on.
Does it have something to do with a windy city?
Wait a minute.
It is a windy city.
Does it have something to do with a day for a savior?
The 3 will not blow away. It'll stay very firm.
The 3 of the week.
I'm sorry. I just got.
Hold on.
Here it comes. This coming here. It's Chicago.
Come on.
It's Wendy. It's Savior's Day.
Savior's Day. Do we have the flyer, Sister Michelle?
Now let's see if I don't know if I have the flyer, but let me see if I can. Let's see if we can find a flyer. I'm not sure if I have the flyer. Hold on.
I have the flyer on my phone.
You got the flyer? Somebody got the flyer.
Brother Tony, you have a final call in reach? That's a flyer.
I have a final call in reach.
This is all live. This is all live.
Right there,
all live, family.
There it is. There's your flyer right there. Savior's Day.
That's your latest final call newspaper talking about injustice and the need for justice. Look at that cover right there. And that has been the theme. There we go. This has been the theme the past couple of weeks. And dear family, the war of Armageddon has begun. That is the theme for Savior's Day this week. This year. In a couple of weeks, we'll be up there. But this is in Chicago, Savior's Day 2023, February 25th to the 27th. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan will be speaking on the 26th of February. You don't want to miss it. That'll be the program will be on NOI.org. on that Sunday. Please tune in. You do not want to miss this program.
Or you could just get on a plane and just travel to Chicago.
And you could
that might be the wisest thing to do, is to get to Chicago. And if I can, on that note about getting to Chicago, I want to say quickly, I wonder what was going through people's mind during a time when Jesus walked this planet 2,000 years ago, and somebody thought, well, I'll see you tomorrow, but you never had that chance till tomorrow. I wonder, those of you who love your freedom fighters and you say them, and yet you have an opportunity right now to be with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in just a couple of weeks. I don't know about next year's Savior's Day, but I do know about this. Please do not take the presence of our who you say you love. Please don't take it for granted. I will heart and my mind, and I will be there with my student mentality. Hear the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, family. This could be your last opportunity.
This is very, very true.
Don't take that lightly. Go to NOI.org, get your registration, get your tickets for Sunday to experience the lecture for yourself.
It's filling up fast, family. So
very fast. We implore you, we encourage you to go to NOI.org, get your ticket, get your registration.
All
on up.
roads lead to Chicago. That's right. So listen, I think we've done great tonight. Great
Right,
topic.
family.
Great
Awesome job.
study.
Sister Michelle, great job on the controls. Come on, Brother Tony. Give him some love. Working on those controls. Sister Kalila, you know we love you. We miss you, Sister Kalila. You know, we
Yes,
threw in a
we
couple
miss
of punches there for you, though. You know, wanted to make
Yep.
sure you got that. But you all know we're not a gang. We're not a clique. We're not
Here
a
it
crew.
comes. Say
Seven Reasons Coalition.
And we out,
Next
family.
Thursday, family. We
Peace.
love you.
Assalamu alaikum.